My name is Yvette Seeley-Jones, and I'm a member of the Digital Learning League team with Anglophone West. Welcome to LearnEast 2020. Yeah, right? Totally singing. And the session today is D1, Sharing with Sway. And we want to welcome the digital master, Wayland, and he's going to show us everything he knows about Sway.
I like
and what
that.
don't you? And what you can use it for within your classroom. Thanks so much for taking the time to share your experience and expertise with us, Wayland. Just a reminder, everybody, just keep your mics on mute. You can have your video up and going if you want of yourself, chair dancing. And if you have any questions during the session, just put them in the little chat box. And we also have the little raised hand icon that you might see on that bar of items that are kind of on the bottom in the middle. That's a nice little addition to Teams where you can raise your hand and I can keep track of who does that, and then you can speak and ask the question. And I think that's it, right, Wayland?
I think we're all set.
Okay, we're ready to rock and roll.
I'm just changing my email signature to Digital Master.
Awesome.
Okay. Okay, I'm going to just share my screen here. And we don't need that, but can you see my splash screen? Okay.
I can see it. Yep. Everybody
Perfect.
else okay?
Okay, so we're going to start sharing with Sway session here. And so what we want to do today, or what I kind of see as our goals, is talk about a little bit about what a Sway is, and then get right in started with show you how to get started with Sway quick and easy. You can do a more complicated. I feel it's more complicated. I like to get started as easy as possible, get into the technology. And we'll look at adding content, which is our storyline mode. And then we'll look at customizing it, making it look pretty, putting our own flair in there in the design mode. And then a little bit about collaborating and sharing, and then some questions at the end I've told Yvette that I don't mind answering questions in the middle of the session. It's good in the moment sort of thing when the question hits. So first of all, what is a sway? I guess a sway, I like sways. I'm going to just escape from this, and I'm going to bring up a sway. A sway allows us to go from something kind of plain like a Word document and very quickly turn it into a beautiful website. Sways are somewhere kind of a cross between a PowerPoint and a website, where they're taking our content and displaying it in a web-friendly, mobile-friendly platform. So that's kind of what Sway is in a nutshell. What I really like about Sway, kind of thinking back to Matt's keynote this morning, and how technology is changing the way we teach and how we learn and all of that. And I like Sway because it focuses on the content. The technology part is really kind of easy. Or you can make it very easy, and it really allows for students to focus on their research or what they're presenting, and the same for teachers, allows them to focus on what it is they want to display without getting lost in the technology. And if you've ever taught a class where you wanted students to make a PowerPoint presentation, they can get lost very quickly in trying out every font color, every transition, and pretty soon you've spent 4 out of 5 classes playing with PowerPoint and 1 out of 5 doing research. So Sway really brings us back to the content, at least in the way I want to present it. So let's get right into it. So that's what a Sway is. I'm going to bring up this one again. And to get started with Sway, it's really straightforward. Here's a Word document. Now, I will point out that this method only works in Word Online. So I've logged on to office.com, which all of our students have, and I've opened up a Word document, and this is my sample lesson plan. It can be anything. It could be a book report. It could be an agenda. It could be a brochure that you want to share with parents, anything. So straightforward. I've typed in my lesson plan. I've got my title and introduction, big ideas, examples, and that sort of thing. And here's my text, what I would want the students to know. Now, here's the quickest, easiest thing that you're going to do. For everything that is a heading, I'm going to highlight it and select from my styles heading 1. And that essentially is going to take things and create, if you think of PowerPoint and slides, sways and cards. So every time I turn that into a heading 1, I'm creating a new card. Okay, so I'm going to take all of my breaks or all my headings, just select them and click heading 1, and you'll see it's going to this blue formatting. It doesn't really matter right now. And that is the basic, it can be as simple as that, and you're almost done. You can see that I've also inserted in my notes here, kind of where I think I would have a picture put in or a video. I can even insert a form in this way, and we will look at that. Actually, I'll switch back here and I'll show you that these pictures I've started from the exact same document, and I have these images, and there's actually my form at the end. So that's where we're going to get to. So that's the hard part. Now, all I'm going to do is click on File. And again, I'm in Word Online, and you're going to see this word Transform. And when I click on Transform, it says transform to a web page. So it's going to take my document and turn it into a web page. Basically, it's turning it into a sway. So I'm going to click on that. And it gives you some different options for some pre-formatted styles. My suggestion to get started, the easiest one to customize afterwards, is the Regency. And the Regency is very plain, but it's because it is so plain, I can add to it quite easily afterwards and make it look and feel the way I want. The other ones are all very nice, but they're harder to work with in terms of adjusting them for personal preference. So I've selected Regency, and I'm going to click the word Transform here down in the lower right, and it's going to do some magic. Working away. All of these will be accessible when you go to office.com. I'm going to just open up my Office here for a second. Office. To show you where these are going to be. In my tabs, I have Sway right here. So if I click on that, if it's not there, it would be in your other apps. You can click on the window up here and find your other apps. But these are where all my sways live. Okay, so I'm just going to go back to that. And so here's my very plain website pulled from my Word document. And you see it's kept the text, but every title or every part that I use the style heading 1 now has this big heading. And when I come over here to the right in the top, I'm going to click on Edit. And what that's doing is going to kind of show me the bones of my lesson. So by default, when I click Edit, I come into this storyline mode. Remember, I said there was storyline and design. Storyline is where I'm adjusting the content, moving things around. Design is the look, the feel of it. So you can see that all of these pieces, they're kind of separated. These are called cards, right? PowerPoint has slides, Sway has cards. This is, I guess, a deck of cards. And every time I click on a card or an area, I get a little plus button, a little green plus, and that allows me to add content. So you'll see that in here, this is where I wanted to put the picture. So in my example, I think I did a space lesson, but it could be anything. I'm going to just delete this card. So very quickly, I can delete it. and I'm going to add a new card here, and it gives me some suggestions. Do I want to do another heading or title? Do I want to add some text, an image, a stack of cards, more cards? I can even upload things, and then you can play with more of these. This is where I can put in videos and embed my forms and things like that. But we're going to start with just an image. And the really nice part about this is that it starts to scan my document and pick out text that that it's going to search, right? So if I had been talking about if this had been a report on lions, I would see text that would say lions or cats or whatever the text was in my document. It would automatically generate that search. Or I can come up here and type in my own search terms. So in the case of my lesson here, I'm going to go stick with my space theme. I'm going to type in space, or I could type in astronaut or something. And it's going to go through and scan the internet for images. What's really nice is that it's only showing me by default, this is turned on, Creative Commons, which means they're free to use. Right? So there's no worry about piracy or students not attributing work. So all of this stuff is automatically available for them, free to use. So I'm going to grab my space. I don't know, this looks like a nice picture. So I'm going to click on that. I could select a number of them if I wanted, right? As I select, you see they all get these check marks. But I'm just going to take this one and I'm going to click add. And you'll see very quickly that this card now has the space scene in it. And if I want to see what it looks like, I'm just going to click my play button here in the top right. And you'll see that now I have this nice image. I didn't have to figure out how to format it. I don't know how to, the resizing of things, this is now ready to go. It's that easy. So if I want to go back, I'm going to click on edit again. And I can go down through here and add more content, right? And there's different ways to add images. It's kind of neat. I'm going to click on this card. And I'm going to add images. Now this time I'm going to add 2 images. So I'm going to go with maybe astronauts. I'm going to try to spell astronauts. There we go. And see, I'm looking for, actually I should have typed in, I wanted Hadfield. Let's put in Hadfield. Spell that properly. There he is. So I'm going to get a picture of Chris Hadfield, one here, and then maybe I'll get another. I'm going to grab 2 images, and I'm going to add those. And so now if I preview that, you see there's 2 images put in my slideshow. Now maybe that's not how I want to present them. There's all sorts of features to play with. If I come back here and I click on this group, okay, I can actually change how those are presented. So I could do a stack, which means they're going to kind of sit on top of one another and you can flip through them. Or I could put in a slideshow, or I have some comparison ones. These are all kind of neat. If I like the comparison one, it's always kind of neat. I'll change it to that. And when I play it, you'll see that I get this little slider in between. So I've actually created kind of an interactive piece to my website, right, or to my content here. So that's always fun. Going through, I can insert videos. So again, actually I'm going to edit this text. I don't need that reminder anymore. Just delete that. Oops. I'm going to edit that. Probably hear my keyboard. And I'm going to click the media part and click on video. And you see that now it's taking my Hadfield and actually going through videos available on Bing or YouTube. I can actually search YouTube right here. And if I wanted to, there's a Chris Hadfield, but maybe I'll just try something like a spacewalk. I'll do another search. And if I knew these are, see if I can find a short one. There's a short one, minute 31. I'll click add. And again, you'll see that very quickly that video is now embedded in my presentation, as opposed to before, you know, right? We might put links in our Word document that people would have to copy and paste into a web browser to go visit. This is now, oops, right inside of my window. So they don't actually leave my lesson plan or my content to watch the video. It's embedded inside of it. So I just click play and away I go. All right. Same thing with, I mentioned forms. If you've created a form, you can embed that in here, and that's done. I'm going to click on the plus button again, go back to media, and we have embed. And so for that one, we'd have to actually go get a code, embed code. So if I went to my forms, I have a pre-built space form somewhere's in here. You know what? I'm just going to steal this one. This was a quiz for my for an office presentation. But when I click the share button in my form, you'll see I have that same symbol, this embed code, the kind of the brackets with the slash through it. When I click on that, it gives me this piece of code, which I'll copy. And then when I come back to my Sway, it says paste your embed code here. So I'm just going in and click play again. And so at the bottom of this, we'll see that there's my form embedded again. So students don't have to leave the actual content, and they can provide feedback or answer questions inside of the actual Sway presentation. So it's kind of taking all of our bits and pieces and putting it in one place. And what's really nice is that, again, I think I mentioned this earlier, but this is mobile friendly. So when I grab this link and I share this with my students, it doesn't matter whether they're watching on or accessing it on a computer or on a phone. It's all going to format itself really nicely. Okay, so again, I go back to edit. In this storyline mode, I'm not spending a lot of time thinking about how to put those images in or how to format the elements. I'm just clicking, right, that little plus button, oops, down here, something like this. And I've got all sorts of options that do it for me automatically. What else am I going to say about that?
Wayland?
Yes.
Quick question. Is there a maximum time limit for videos that are embedded? Do you know that?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Because it's not, Sway is not loading the video, right? So it's not like it's not going to make your presentation any heavier or not. It's just playing it kind of through YouTube or through whatever the video source is. So no, not really. I think you noticed that when I was loading those videos, some of the spacewalk ones were like an hour or 2 hours. So it's just going, it's not part of the Sway. The Sway is accessing it. So the other kind of the downside of that is if someone takes their YouTube video down, it's not available in my Sway anymore either.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
And then there's a question here. Can a group of 3 students work on the same Sway at the same time?
Yes. The problem with the same way at the same time is that what I found in any Microsoft collaboration is when people are trying to do things at the exact same time, it gets a little messy in that things are moving around on the screen that I'm not doing. So for example, if I'm looking at this screen and somebody on another screen is clicking plus, 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 plus and adding content, stuff's moving around on my screen. It's kind of distracting to me or hard for me to follow. But let's jump to the sharing piece is all through here. Okay, so you can actually uh, pick specific people to share with. So I can type in Yvette. There's Yvette right there. Right, so I can actually invite her, or I could copy this link and send it to her and give her edit permissions. Okay, so we would actually both have creative control over this sway. The other option here, just while we're in with the sharing, with the view, and if I say anyone with the link can view, that now becomes available to the public. So if you were creating a presentation that maybe you wanted to share with parents, these would be the settings that you would use. You would give them anyone with the link and view, and then you could actually put this right on your school website, so students would have access to it. So if you wanted to do a summary of your monthly plan, you think of a class newsletter that might go home. Using these settings, you can actually present that as a sway and attach the link or send the link in an email or whatever it is, and all your parents would have access to it. And again, on their phones or computers or tablets, it doesn't matter. How's that? Did I answer that question?
That's great, thanks.
Okay.
One more question here.
Yep.
When you send one to students, if there's a form included, would you click on edit in your sharing or just viewing? In other words, can students answer the form if you send it in view mode?
Yes. Yes, because again, it's embedded as long as they have access to that form. Right, because it will yeah, that no, okay, wait, now I'm rethinking that, but they would have to have access to the form as well. So if it was a form that they didn't have access to, it wouldn't show up in their sway. I think you have to kind of match the permissions.
Okay.
That's
Does that
it.
make
You know
sense,
what?
Cindy?
I haven't. That makes sense. I haven't tested that specifically. So you know what? I'm writing a little note to myself right now and check that out. Experiment. Try with it.
Yeah, that's what she
See
just
what
said. She
works.
said she'll have to
Yeah.
play with it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks, Wayland.
Oh, you're welcome. So that's kind of like, and you can move these around. So if I all of a sudden I said, you know what, I wanted my examples before my big ideas, you can see that I can just drag these and shift things around. It's pretty easy to move things around, just like moving slides in a PowerPoint. Also, just different things. And again, there's so many features to play with that really we haven't got time to go over them all. But if we click on the insert, I just want to go back to, you can pull from your OneDrive. While these searches, I went down to YouTube. Remember, you can actually pull content from your OneDrive. So if you have images or videos that you've used and you want them in your presentation, you can access them from here. Or you can upload directly from your computer or iPad or phone if you're creating there. I should say, let me take that back. Creating on your iPad and phone. This application Sway is only web-based. There is no app, right? So in your Office 365 suite on your phone or your iPad or whatever, we install the OneDrive app or we install the Word app or the PowerPoint app. This is only a website, so it's a little bit different. There is no app to install. So we'll just point that out. Okay, so that was fun. I'm going to flip over now to design mode. So I'm going to click on that. You see, here's my very simple layout. Remember, we selected the Regency template, but this is just so that when I go to styles, it's much easier to play with. So very quickly, we'll see that there's different ways to navigate through these sways. So if I switch to horizontal, I get these little arrows down here, and I can slide through. I don't like that one. This one slides, which is not too bad. I mean, the reality is that I'm used to scrolling up and down on my phone or my computer. So this one fits very well with the way my brain is wired. You can play with it, but I always go back to vertical. The other option here is that, we can start just clicking on different pre-formatted style compilations, and it automatically moves everything. And you see this one has these little transitions as the titles slide out and things kind of transition in. I can also, I can grab different ones very quickly. So again, students aren't going to have to spend a lot of time trying to figure out what all the transitions and all the color schemes and all the that they get lost in PowerPoint. They can just click one and they're done, right? They don't have to move anything around. They don't have slides. This is kind of a neat one. It kind of looks like pictures embedded in a bulletin board, right? So that's, someone might like that. And again, very quick to create something. If I get out of that again, I always like, well, and I can scroll through these. They have different, basically this is like a theme, and I have different color schemes of that same theme, and same thing in all of these. But I like to go up to here, the remix button. I like to roll the dice. So when I come up here, I'll just click remix and I'll see what it gives me, right? It gave me a vertical one, and I can look at that and say, okay, that's interesting. I hit remix again, and it puts together a different combination, and I'll click play and I'll see what that one looks like as I scroll through it. Oh, it gave me the vertical. I know already that I don't like this one. So I'll go back to edit, remix again. And you can do this a number of times. And even after you've kind of finalized your presentation, you can go back and remix this at any point. You've submitted it or you've published it. You go back and remix and people get the new look. So it's very good that way. You can tailor it a little bit. You can click on the customize, but this is where I find that I'm going to get lost. And there's too many choices for me. And I'm going to spend more time clicking through all of this than I did focusing on my content. Right, so I kind of stay out of that one. Again, I just like to go with the remix, and away we go. And that is all under the design mode.
Okay, another question for you.
Excellent.
For students who may wish to print out a paper copy for notes or future reference, is there a way, similar to PowerPoint, that a condensed version / notes overview can be printed out to save paper and ink?
Well, a couple of things. One, I will remind you that this did start as a Word document. So you
Right.
have, in terms of saving paper, I mean, you've got your content here. If you're just looking for the text and not everything that you've added. Now, I will say that if I come in here, let me go back into storyline mode. And if I clicked on here and added a new text box, right? So I added info in here. This would not be reflected in my Word document. Mm-hmm. Okay, so that's one. But I will say, like, I kind of think of this is really what I would, and again, this is just me, but in my classroom, this is the most important part to me. Right, the research and this is where I'm going to say, students, okay, show me your work, show me this, and then go ahead now turn it into a sway. That's where you can let them play and get creative, but they've done the work here. So this is the main part. The other options you have here, let me go back to, you can print a sway, right? You can export a sway. I think that will let me do as a Word PDF. So you can do that, right? So let me go back to that again. If I go into design mode, let's just do that. So if I say export that as a PDF, it's just going to put it as a document. Here it is, right? I'm going to open that up. And there we go. So this one actually embeds the pictures, kind of takes out the formatting a little bit. And obviously the interactive pieces like the form are not going to work. It does give you the link, although that's just the embed link, so it's a little messy that way.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I mean, you can export it. It might look better as a Word document. To be honest, I don't do that very often because I start from Word.
That's great. Thank you.
So, okay. I'm just going to open that. We'll see what that looks like. So I'm in, opening on another window. 1 second. I'm going to bring that in for you. 2 seconds. I lied. It's going to be like 5 seconds. You can put a password on. We were just talking about going back to our sharing of with partners, people to either collaborate or even just for people to view it. Right? You can put a password option on that. Right? I can create a password or just a password to edit. That's kind of a neat little feature as well. When I get this visual link, I can just copy this and put it in an email. It kind of gives them a nice preview. It's a nice way to send it out to people to look at. And they would click on that and they would open the Sway in a play mode. I'm just going to bring over that Word document we were talking about a second ago, just to see how the link works. Same thing, not much difference there. Okay. Moving on. So that's great. Now I will say I'm going to go back to, if I click on Sway here, it's a little bit different view. So you'll see that here's the website view. If I go to click on that Sway Word, not from here. You notice a little bit of a difference here, how I access this, so just so it doesn't throw you off. When I click on the Sway icon in my Office, it basically just shows you my documents or the sways that I've created, and then gives me, a new blank sway, start from a document. This is where I could bring in my Word document as well. But once I'm in Sway, oops, not forms. Once I'm in Sways and I click this word, it gives me a little bit different view. Same thing. These are my sways, but it's giving me the visual graphic to represent my different sways as opposed to the list. And again, create new. I don't like this. Again, this I'll show you the hard way now, because now I've got to figure out, what am I adding here? Am I adding a heading, a text? And I'm going to be copying and pasting. So even if I add a text here, now I've got to bring it from another document into here. Whereas I find starting from the document, which is something that we're more comfortable with. We have a little more experience working with Word as a platform. And if I start there and I make my text, all I have to really know is how to make the headings. And then I can come into Sway, whereas this is going to be multiple steps. I'm going to create different types of cards. Is it a heading card? Is it a text card? All that sort of thing. So I find this, once I understand Sway a little bit better, then I could come here and start this way. But I think the best way to get students started, the biggest bang for your buck in terms of time, is let them work in the Word document and then use the transform option.
And Wayland, have you ever done any transformations from a PowerPoint? Because I know teachers have a lot of PowerPoints that have been put together.
Yeah, I haven't had good luck with that.
Okay.
It does. We can do one right now, if you'd like. Let me take. Here's my assignments and teams PowerPoint. Let's see what that looks like. I hope I have multiple slides here. I do. So I've got 4 or 5 slides.
Right.
And if I take this and hit the transform button, as soon as it becomes active, File. Internet's being a little bit slow here. I'm probably trying to do too much. I didn't like it. I tried it from a PDF and I didn't like that. It has a hard time figuring out what's a card and what isn't, right? So let me actually, I guess I have to go from Sway. So let me go to Sway first. I'm going to go Sway, start from document. Or was that an import? I forget how I did that. So let me find my PowerPoint here. Code Expo. I'll just pick a different one. So I'll do that one. Well, that's really taking too long. Oh, here we go. So you can see that it's just a lot of images. You don't really control the formatting very well. Try to see where my content goes. Oh, yeah, a little more cumbersome. Like say, it interprets the elements of a PowerPoint differently than it does in Word. Whereas, I guess this makes more sense to me.
Okay, thanks.
Nope, you're welcome. Go back to my sways. And just going to open up my. So this is just like I say, and I've done a lesson plan, but you could do your book report this way. And again, it's less about. Go back to the idea of the PowerPoint and the PowerPoint being supposed to be a support for a presenter. So I'm getting up and speaking and I would have visual support of a PowerPoint or something like that. It's not meant to be a presentation. The Sway kind of does lead itself. It's not necessarily meant for a student to stand up and talk while they go through the Sway, although I've seen that done as well. But if you think of a Sway as, if you've asked for students to do a PowerPoint or you've asked them to submit a worksheet or a Word document, and they all look the same. They're, it's the same formatting, just text, and it's not necessarily meeting the creative needs sometimes, or harder to insert the elements, the visual elements that allow them to tell their story or explain what it is they're writing about. And Sway is a great way for them to quickly add all sorts of elements, whether it be an image or a video or a survey to collect data, and they can all do it at the click of a button, and they can tweak it to be their own, as opposed to a stack of papers that all look the same. Every Sway can be individualized or personalized for that student. How are we doing for time here? I haven't really been watching.
We're doing okay. We've got about 20 minutes or so left here. I'm just wondering if anybody else has any questions that they want to throw out and see if we can brainstorm through them.
Awesome.
It's a quiet group.
It's the last session of the day.
It is.
Yeah. I'm just trying to see. Maybe I'll show a couple more features here. I kind of went over them real quick. I'll add a couple more pictures in here. I'll show you some of the other. If I go to image here, and let's just say I type in dogs. Not that that's really. Now I'm going to stick with the theme here. Let's put in stars. And hopefully it doesn't give me a bunch of celebrities. Okay, excellent. So if I were to select a number of images like this one, so I've got 4 or 5 pictures selected, and I click add. I kind of went over this real quick, but by default, it just kind of puts them in linearly, like one over top of the other. But when I click the group option, I like the stack. If I show you that one, the stack is kind of neat. And if we scroll down here, we just click and you get this nice animation. Right, so again, it adds a little bit of interactivity to the content, which is something that maybe your PowerPoints or Word documents wouldn't have. If I go full screen, it's basically a slideshow that I can scroll through. And when I click close, I'm back to the stack and I keep on going. The other options, if I click that group type, there's the slideshow. You can have a grid, which is nice. Also, scroll down so you can see those images. Again, if I click on one, it opens it full screen. I can close it, and I'm back into my presentation. Let's see. We talked about the sharing. So just to identify exactly what these mean, specific people and groups requires an email, and this is, to the best of my knowledge, only within our NB-Ed, NBSS environment. Okay, so I would actually have to type in the email to the person that I want to give this to. If I choose those in the organization with the link, that means anybody with an NBSS or NB-Ed login, Office 365 login can access this. The anyone with the link is public. So that just means that there's no login required. It's just a website. You give them the link, it opens. And again, knowing what is my purpose. Is this just for a view, or am I actually going to edit this? We saw the password options there. The other one I wanted to show, you can make copies of it. So if you want to have multiple versions, right, you would click duplicate here. But the other one I wanted to show, oh, I know where it was, sorry. In my play button down, you can see the settings here. I can actually create a loop, so I can have this run as a slideshow. And then when I hit start, it's going to move through my presentation automatically. You'll see down at the bottom that I have my pause and stop button, but that's kind of a neat little feature as well. This is something you could have running if you think of parent-teacher night. Not that we know what that's going to look like, but you could have this going on your board, having just images of activities that you've done throughout the year, and it could loop through automatically, much like we would have done with a PowerPoint in the past. We'll stop that. And that's in a nutshell. Like I say, Sway is such a powerful tool, but it's so easy to get started with it. Again, going from Word and just hitting that transform button, it makes so much sense. And then with a few clicks, I've got a beautiful presentation that I can share with anybody.
Here's another question.
Yep.
Because it is cloud-based, is there no way to download the presentation? What if you go to teach/present, etc., and the network goes down? and then Lee said, network goes down? Never.
Right. Yeah. And that is the that is it, right? If the network goes down, this is web-based, so no, you don't have access to it.
Right.
But again, I don't see it so much as me standing up and presenting with this, right? This is a way for me to deliver content. I can see myself putting this link in my team and letting students access it that way, or sending links out in email or posting them on websites. You know, but you're right. You're bang on. I mean, that is the crux of our. It's like when your smartboard bulb goes. What do you do? right? We've become dependent on some of the technology that we have to scramble a little bit when it doesn't work. But yeah, web-based is an issue. But I think that's going to be an issue that we're going to have to just kind of roll with as the year goes on, with so much remote learning and relying so much on our digital platforms.
Yeah, for sure. Any other questions from anybody?
Just a lot of fun to play with. I mean, I would recommend just kind of opening up a Word doc. Take an existing Word document, anything you've got. I was playing with a report that I had done, and just put some headings on it, and all of a sudden it looked really interesting instead of what I wrote. So
I just placed the link in the chat box for the prizes. I know it's only 3:16, but I wanted to make sure if people were getting ready to leave, to make sure they fill that out in order to win one of our great prizes.
are they giving away a car?
Oh, not a car, no. No.
Rats.
Maybe a Wacom tablet, though.
That looks interesting.
Yes.
I would
And
think,
Jeff
especially
Whipple
for
just
the.
said door prizes in our final session is at 3:45, which is in about 30 minutes. If you don't have any questions, Wayland, I'd like to thank you for sharing this. And I think teachers are really going to see a great way to access this and use it with their students, whether it be in the classroom face-to-face or whether it be virtually. It's just another great way to present information to kids. And thanks so much for your time.
Hey, it's been a great day.
It has been a great day. Thanks everyone for coming out today.
Thank you, Yvette.
Tara just asked, you may
Yeah.
have answered this already. If we are playing around with existing Word docs, will the transform function affect the original document?
No, it does not. It copies it over into Sway.
Great.
And you can do it multiple times from the same document. It'll create a new Sway every time.
And Tara
So
said, phew.
if you had versions of your Word document, you could have versions of your Sway. Yeah. And again, I mentioned that it only works in Word Online. The transform button is not available in the local version of Word. You can still create your document in Word, right? Because we are kind of connected, right, between our desktop app and our online app. They're both
Right.
accessible through our OneDrive. So if you are more comfortable working on your desktop Word, you can create your document there. Just open it in the Word Online when you're ready to switch it over to a Sway.
Great. That's great. Anybody else with questions? Don't forget to fill out the form for your prize. Zez.
Got time for one more bathroom break before the final session?
Yep. Cocktail hour is on.
Awesome.
We're ready for our next our ending session. I'll stop recording.